In this talk, I want to discuss the other kinds of descent system, that is the uterine or matrilineal systems and the bilineal or non-unilineal systems, and also to look at inheritance. Uterine systems, that is inheritance through the female, constitute about 15% of all the unilineal systems. They are less common than patrilineal systems. And examples of them would be, for example, the Bemba, the Trobriand Islands, or the Crow Indians. In such systems, of course, descent is through the female, and also inheritance and rights in property tend to be through the female line. And yet, it's a mistake to think of them as societies where authority and power also lies in females. Sometimes there is a good deal of authority, but usually in such societies the dominant sex roles are those of the male, and they don't coincide with the descent and inheritance principles. The sex that counts in the reckoning of group membership is nevertheless the inferior one in most other situations. For example, men hold positions of authority in the domestic and political activities, and in such a situation you therefore get what is known as the matrilineal puzzle. That is the problem of combining these two different principles. Combining the principle that the women are the people through whom descent flows, and the men are the ones who need to run the system, and particularly the women's brothers. In these societies, a man's inheritance, instead of going to his son, passes to his sister's son. This is because in matrilineal societies, no less than patrilineal, authority and property holding are mainly the man's prerogative, even though it goes through a woman. Now, how does one deal with this problem? Because, of course, these are also societies where you have outmarriage, exogamy, and in such a situation, a man and his sister, who should be cooperating, are going to be split. The woman is going to move away, or the man is going to move away in marriage, and you have this tension between trying to keep them together and yet also trying to allow them to be apart. And there have been various solutions that human societies have evolved for dealing with the matrilineal puzzle. 4% of matrilineal societies do something which is very peculiar to us. They have what is known as duo-local residence, that is, two-fold residence. What that in effect means is that they resolve the problem by the brothers and sisters remaining together, as they did among the Nayars, for example, of South India. And this means, of course, if brothers and sisters remain together, the sacrifice is that husbands and wives cannot be together, because the brothers and sisters are there, and the man doesn't move away, the woman doesn't move away. So what do you do with marriage? Well, you do what the 19th century islanders of the island of Tory Island off the west coast of Ireland did, which is that husbands and wives don't live together. You get sometimes night visiting, they all visit each other at night, but they don't actually live together most of the time. And this duo-local residence system is one solution, just living apart as husband and wife. A second solution is alternating marriage, which is a solution, for example, adopted by the Doer Islands, studied by Rio Fortune. And in this, the husband and the wife alternate annually between his and her kinship group. 1 year they're in one group, another year they're in the other, so that you keep up your contacts with your brothers and sisters by this mechanism. Something similar to what we do at Christmas. Those of us who are married and who have the problem of whether we shall spend Christmas with his relatives or her relatives, we often adopt an alternating system. The third solution is virilocal marriage. Virilocal means at the husband's place. A woman joins the man, as with the Hopi Indians, and in such a situation, the male members of the dominant sex are living with affines. In other words, their sisters have gone away. So all the men are there, but they've lost their sisters, who are basically their integrating force. They're separated, in other words, from their clansfolk. And in such a situation, therefore, you've got the problem again. The other solution, of course, is uxorilocal marriage, which is at the wife's, the uxor's place. But in this situation, all the men have gone away to marry the women. The men are scattered. The women live together. And again, you get the same problems. So that the only solution, the only really logical solution to the matrilineal puzzle in the end is for marriage to collapse as an effective living together of a man and a woman. But this is a solution which is usually intolerable and not often adopted. Basically, as the American anthropologist Schneider points out, matrilineal systems must retain control over both the male and the female members. Whereas in a patrilineal system, where both the authority and the power and also the property and everything else is in the male line, they don't face this problem. And this, as we'll see later, may help to explain differential divorce rates in different kinds of society.